What's going on YouTube? Josh here. The reason why I'm standing up in this video is because I wanted a different background, and my friend told me I look very somber, very depressed when I'm sitting down, and I know that I'm not a very charismatic person. That's something I want to improve, so standing up allows me to more easily display my energy. But in this video, we're talking about my life as a junior developer. So let me tell you about my first job as a developer. I was let go, right? I know that sounds terrible. Why would you say that? But it was because the business was changing direction, and some deals that they had hired me on to work on projects for fell through. And so when that happened, guess who's the first to let go, right? The junior developer. We were amicable about it, and they said they'd be a positive reference and tell other people that they had only positive things to say about me. It was just business, right? The senior developers had earned their place there, and I had just gotten started. So for the remaining projects, after those deals had fell through, they needed the more experienced developers for. And just like that, I knew that this career was going to be an uphill battle. So most places know they're not hiring someone who is going to contribute 300% the next day, especially if you're a junior developer, but they do know that you're going to be putting in 300% the effort just because you want a job, just because you're a junior developer. You're willing to be a sponge to learn whatever they want you to learn, however they want you to learn it, and that's the benefit of them hiring you, not to mention that you don't cost as much as a senior level developer. So they could hire a senior developer, but there are two sides to this, right? They're very stubborn with how they do things and the technology that they do it with, and they're kind of stuck in their opinions, and they're expensive, right? And when you hire senior developers, you kind of run into that I know more than you, so I'm better than you. They could hire two junior developers willing to work their asses off just to keep their job. Now, depending on the needs of the company or your ability to convince them that you're 300% dedicated to this job, if they just give you a shot, you know, that could sway their decision. That's why I apply to every single position, regardless if it says senior, junior, mid-level. Like, just give me a chance to talk to you and let's see if there's a fit, because they're not going to put in the application that they might be willing to change their mind, right? So life as a junior developer is a little bit risky. It's risky in that it's competitive, number one. Do they hire a couple junior devs or one senior dev? And you're the lowest on the totem pole. So as a junior developer, finding a mentor is key. A mentor doesn't always mean a direct student-teacher relationship. It can just be someone that you watch on YouTube. It could be books that you read, people that you look up to, people that you don't need to have a one-on-one relationship with them, even though that's usually best to have a mentor. You can watch plenty of YouTube channels or have people that you admire and look at successful people and model them and do what they do. When you're a junior developer, you just want to make sure that you can learn, right? It's okay if you're intimidated. You know, just make sure that the company is willing to let you learn, and there's someone there that can explain it to you when you get lost, and that they don't expect you to just figure everything out yourself. Because depending on, maybe you can, maybe you're that person who can just figure everything out yourself, but chances are you'll probably get stuck on something just that's company specific, and you won't know what to do. When you're a junior developer, times can be tough, and most times beggars can't be choosers. You have to take what you can get, and sometimes that means a job that isn't even what you prepared for, what you studied for, a job that's not paid, or maybe even it's a job for your friends or family that doesn't really count as like a job. But even though it's still a job, you have to consider it like a job, right? Doesn't matter. You're just trying to get the experience. You're just trying to learn and move up the totem pole. That's all you want, right? So these are the different levels of development as you go along in the career, right? You start off with the I can copy and paste someone else's code as the exact answer. I can copy and paste someone else's code and modify it to fit what I want. And then there's the I can break this problem down into tiny little pieces, and then I could Google a few examples of how you would solve a problem like this and figure out if this is what I need. Then there's that next level tier where you're the person on Stack Overflow with 26,000 points from answering other people's arbitrary questions and then there's the even next level tier where you're the person with 40,000 points and you're optimizing people's already, you're the guy on Stack Overflow where you're finding the best answer, and then you're saying, actually, this would work better if you did this. That's when you know. That's when you know you made it, right? So you're probably in the I don't know how to do this phase. Why am I here again? Why am I getting paid to do this, right? The classic imposter syndrome. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying copy and pasting code is bad, but sometimes you'll just find the best way to do something, and there's no shame in taking a perfectly piece of working code, something that answers your question perfect, and just pasting that into what you're going to use for production. There's no shame in that. You don't always have to code everything yourself from scratch. Another thing about being a junior developer is that basically networking is everything. Since your job is so replaceable, I mean, I know it sucks to say, but that's how it is. You're replaceable. You need to network. You need to know that if you didn't work there, you would have people that could point you in the right direction to get another job, or you might stagnate, right? These can be coworkers that turn into long-lasting friends. These can be people you've met at meetups. You need knowledgeable people in the industry and a way of staying up to date with what's hot, with what companies are using, with what the next big thing is going to be. I don't claim to know everything, and it can feel especially rough on days, and it's hard to feel like you're making progress. But you have to look at your life as a junior developer. You have to look at it with the compound effect, right? This is known in the finance world for when you put your money in your 401k, and then over time you get the compounding interest, and then you end up with millions of dollars when you retire. If you take an airplane and you chart its course and you adjust its path by about 1%, right? Initially, it won't look like much of a difference. But if you're in California and you're trying to go to New York, by the time you get to New York, you're going to be way off, right? So while in the moment, it may not feel like you're making any progress, you're making tons of progress if you just look back and see the huge difference that you've made, right? It's better to struggle your way through something rather than to talk about what you're going to do. So as I said yesterday, you gotta have some urgency with what you're doing. You can't mosey through your first job, and I'll admit that's what I did some days, and it took me nowhere. And I've set my goal to never be put in that position again, and I will have someone that I can go to and someone to point me in the right direction for the rest of my career, and someone to help keep me up to date, right? Developer life is hard, but you have to do it anyways. And I hope this was charismatic enough. That was my experience as a junior developer, and some days I still feel like I'm a junior developer. Anyways, we have a Discord. We're hanging out there, always trying to improve. If you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video.